Looksmaxxing, the video I never wanted to make because the entire topic is populated by a bunch of fucking losers who gave up on themselves, came up with a lot of excuses, and promoted a lot of lies all over the internet. It's all bullshit, it's all lies, video over. Actually, you might be a bit surprised by what I have to say, because on the one hand, I think there's actually a lot of value to a decent amount of Looksmaxxing stuff. On the other hand, some of it is absolutely ridiculous and probably dangerous. And on the third hand, if we have three hands, even the stuff that is useful, true, and valuable probably is hurting a lot of guys. So this is why Looksmaxxing is a lie, sort of. Let's get into it. So quickly, for anyone who doesn't know, Looksmaxxing is pretty much what it sounds like, maximizing your looks. And it can be anything from basics like going to the gym, getting good style, to doing exercises to make your face look better, all the way to incredibly invasive plastic surgeries. It's just the idea of trying to do the most you can to look your best. Oh, and it goes without saying, why is it that guys want to Looksmax? In the end of the day, it's all about getting girls. There's obviously more to it, but that's a pretty good summary for anyone who doesn't know. So if the question we're asking ourselves is Looksmaxxing good? This is actually not one question, it's three questions. Question number one, do looks matter? Question number two, does Looksmaxxing work? And then question number three, even if Looksmaxxing works, is it something you should put your time, energy, and money into? So let's start with the first question, which is, do looks matter? And I'm in a very unique place to answer this question because I get guys who come on my programs all the time, some of whom are incredibly good looking and some of whom are very much not good looking. And here's what I see. The good looking guys do better at a few things, but the guys who do the best on the program, the guys who get the best results overall, are not the best looking guys. They're the guys who listen to me and do what the I say on the program. Those are the guys who get good results because they actually learn game. But let's get specific. What are the advantages that a good-looking guy has? Number one, with the same level of approach skill, they will get a little more attention from the girl. They'll get about a 10 to 15 second window of attention where the girl is more positive about them at the start that you wouldn't necessarily get if you weren't as good looking. Number two, the very good looking guys will occasionally actually get opened by girls. They will get girls coming up to them and starting a conversation with them. Now, a quick asterisk on guys getting approached. Number one, it doesn't happen often. On a 3-day boot camp, it might happen once or maybe twice for a very good looking guy. Number two, it's usually not the most attractive girl. At best, it's maybe a girl with a cute face that's a bit overweight. Oftentimes, it's an older lady who doesn't have a lot of other options and is a bit desperate. The really hot girls are simply not approaching guys very often, no matter who they are. And there is one final advantage that good-looking guys get, which is this. If they start talking to a girl and her friends come out of nowhere, usually the friends will treat them more respectfully than they will the less attractive guy. So especially I see this where a guy who's not very attractive is gaming way above his attractiveness level. A lot of times one-on-one with the girl he's talking to, he'll do very, very well. But when the friends see it from across the room, they can't believe this guy that looks like this is getting attraction from their friend. And so they'll come and be very, very protective. Whereas if the guy looks stereotypically handsome, the other friends wouldn't interfere as much. But the fact of the matter is, an attractive guy versus an unattractive guy, there basically is no advantage past the very first few seconds. Once the girl has hooked, once the girl has decided she wants to talk to you and treat you favorably, from there on in your one-on-one interaction, it's going to come down to your game, not your appearance. In fact, it's an interesting combination of comical and sad when a really good-looking guy with no game talks to a hot girl, because at first her eyes will light up, and then you'll just see them dim and dim as she realizes that he's not what she was hoping for. So that's the question of do looks matter, and the answer there in short is yes, a little bit, but not nearly as much as you would think. But that's not Looksmaxxing. Let's talk about, does Looksmaxxing actually work? Now, in order to tackle this question, you need to understand that Looksmaxxing isn't one thing. It's a whole array of things, all the way from very healthy things like going to the gym and getting in shape, having better nutrition, to getting dangerous plastic surgeries. It would also encompass things like getting a good haircut to match your face, getting good style, those kind of things. Now, obviously, some of these are very good, and there's also very little downside. So in the case of something like going to the gym, there's obviously no downside. You should do it. It's healthy, it makes you look better, do it, end of story. In terms of fashion, as long as you're not overspending, looking good is net positive. There's no real reason not to get good fashion. So go ahead and do it. As far as expensive, crazy plastic surgeries, whoa. That's incredibly dangerous. They can go very, very wrong. And also, it's kind of debatable how much they're even necessary or how much they even work. That's where I would really draw the line. But a lot of Looksmaxxing is in this intermediate area, which is around the idea of trying to make your face look better, sometimes with surgery, yes, but usually starting with non-surgical methods. A lot of Looksmaxxing would be this idea of doing various facial exercises, chewing in a particular way, moving your face in a particular way, moving your eyebrows and other facial features in a particular way to try and get your face to kind of look better, to build certain facial muscles, to build certain expression. The idea here is that some facial features and or some expressions are inherently more attractive than others, and you want to get your face to do those. Now, this may actually sound a little bit crazy, but when I get a student who shows up on boot camp, I can often take one look at them and know a lot about their personality and a lot about their character. And that's because people make the same facial expressions over and over again to the point that their face does become etched with those expressions. So if someone is constantly being appeasing and low value and polite and nice, their face will look a certain way. Whereas if someone's being combative, abrasive, dangerous, their face will look different. If someone has walked through life with confidence and had good social receptions, their face will look a certain particular way. And for this reason, I can often tell if someone has game, if someone has had success with women, just by looking at their face. Now, the fact that I can do this would seem to support some of the ideas of Looksmaxxing. Obviously, if the face is conveying your personality and you can change the face, you're conveying the personality people inherently see. And to take this a little bit further, I have had cases where I teach someone and they become more confident, and then the next time I see them, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years later, they look like a different person. They look more alpha because they have become more alpha, they've taken on the expressions of being more alpha, and therefore their face has followed suit and become a more alpha face. So this whole thing is kind of a point in favor of Looksmaxxing. On the other hand, it's kind of a point against it because this is something you can get naturally. If you take on the attitudes and behaviors of being alpha, your body language and your face will naturally follow suit. So you don't necessarily need to do Looksmaxxing to get the same effect. Now, could you in principle get it faster by doing extra exercises? Possibly, although you're doing those exercises maybe a few minutes a day and your face is doing its natural thing the rest of the day, so they might counterbalance a little bit. And I would personally be worried a little bit. You're doing these particular exercises, you're trying to simulate a particular expression, but what if you get it a little bit off? What if you get it a little bit wrong? Wouldn't it be more reliable to actually do those expressions in real life, to actually embody being a confident alpha person and let the face follow? That seems like a more reliable solution to me, but I'm not going to say that it's not possible potentially to do facial exercises that might help you. It is certainly possible. So in answer to our questions, do looks matter? Yes, somewhat. Does Looksmaxxing work? Debatable, some of it for sure, some of it's a little more dicey, but there's probably some of it that does work in fact. How about the third question? Assuming that some of it potentially works, is this something that's worth your time, effort, energy, and money? Is this something you should invest into, or is it a waste of time, or worse yet, is it potentially dangerous and negative? Here are my major issues with Looksmaxxing. First of all, the whole concept of Looksmaxxing assumes that women essentially are thinking the way men are. It assumes that they care as much about our appearance as we care about theirs. And that makes sense from a male perspective. We're thinking what attracts us? Looks. So why don't we get better looking to make ourselves more attractive? And that works to a point. But women care much less about appearance than men, and here's why genetically. In the evolutionary environment, when a man is selecting a mate, the primary thing he cares about is health. He cares about the woman's ability to give him a healthy offspring. And that is very much indicated by beauty. In fact, beauty is a proxy for health. Almost everything that signals beauty is a symbol of health. Like, why is facial symmetry considered attractive? Well, facial symmetry indicates you haven't been disfigured by diseases in your childhood, which indicates good immune system. Youth is considered attractive because youth means younger, better, more fertile eggs that are more likely to produce a healthy offspring. Good skin is considered attractive because that means you're getting good nutrition, which in the evolutionary environment was far from a certainty. And finally, characteristics we find physically attractive in women are usually gender dimorphous characteristics, meaning characteristics where women are different than men. For example, having breasts, which men don't. Women in the evolutionary environment, on the other hand, were a lot less concerned just about having healthy offspring from a mate because they're just getting the sperm. They're not getting the womb and the incubation in 9 months and then the breastfeeding afterwards and all that kind of stuff. It's a much less commitment in terms of the physical health of the baby. So the woman would care a lot more about the social status and ability to provide that the man could provide. The woman would care a lot more about, can the man take care of the baby once it's born? Or does the man have social status within the tribe to keep her as a well-respected member of the tribe so she'll be supported throughout her life? So essentially, in addition to needing at least passable genetics from the man, she wants a man who could protect her and provide for her and their offspring. And these are not things a woman can read just by looking at a man. She can read them by interacting with him, seeing how other people respond to him, seeing his competence, those types of things. And the women respond a lot more to experiential and social cues and a lot less to physical appearance than men do. So for a man, while improving your looks does help, it's only a fraction of the package instead of being the majority of the package as it would be in the case of a woman. For a man, the majority of the package he's looking at to determine whether you're attractive is your behavior, not your appearance. In particular, women are very attuned to social behavior and social proof because we are tribal animals. And this evolutionary point does correspond to what I see in my day-to-day life coaching in the real world, which is a lot of guys who are not very attractive, but who are popular or successful or charismatic do very, very well. The next issue I have with Looksmaxxing is this. While improving your physical appearance may help, obsessing about your physical appearance certainly does not. And certainly becoming insecure about it, noticing every flaw, comparing yourself to male models is not going to help at all. It's just going to give you a complex. It's going to hurt your confidence. And confidence is probably more important for your attractiveness to women than your physical appearance is. In order to illustrate this point, I want to illustrate a corollary point, which was that early on when I was teaching game, I spent a lot of time trying to teach guys to have very good body language, specifically to avoid certain negative body language gestures. But a very interesting thing happened. When I told them all the body language gestures to avoid, what it did is it made them more nervous, more insecure, it put them more in their head, and that nervousness made them make even more body language mistakes than if I had never told them anything. So even if they corrected the body language errors they were making, that nervousness came out in other ways and made their overall game much, much worse. Similarly, I think a lot of guys who get hyper obsessed with their appearance and hyper obsessed with every little flaw, they get very insecure. I mean, look at attractive women who do this as well. Some of the most insecure people you'll ever meet are actually female models, because they're comparing themselves to other women, they're aware of every single flaw, they're aware they're aging every single year, and it makes them dramatically insecure. So even if you did get really into Looksmaxxing and make yourself objectively slightly better looking physically, the psychological effects and how it makes you behave might actually be a much bigger negative than that positive. Beyond that, a lot of guys who are into this act fucking weird. I remember recently I was in line for a nightclub in New York, and the people in front of me on the line were these like Looksmaxxy type people, and they were doing all these really obnoxious weird things to like talk about people's faces and how different things look, and it was just making everyone around them insanely uncomfortable. End of the day, remember the reason guys are trying to Looksmaxx is to get women. If you got objectively, physically better looking, but it made you insecure and made you weird, it's going to make you get fewer women, not more. And again, on top of this, looks don't even matter that much in the first place. My third and biggest issue with Looksmaxxing fundamentally is the opportunity cost, because guys do this in place of other things that will actually be effective, and actually in order to delay or make excuses around other things that would be effective, like actually going out, talking to girls in the real world, and developing a skill. I have seen so many guys who are on a journey of losing weight, and they're like, I'll do approaches once I get to my goal weight, which is ridiculous. Do approaches as you're getting to your ideal weight. Keep working on it. It's a healthy thing to do. I encourage you to get to your best possible weight. I encourage you to look good, but do the approaches in the meantime. Don't use that as an excuse. And tons of guys with Looksmaxxing would take the same thing. Let me get my jawline right, and then I can go do this approach. No, go do the approach and meet the girls you can right now, and then work on your jawline in your spare time if you want to. And that's for the few guys that actually would even admit that game is a skill and that it's something to do along with Looksmaxxing. For a lot of guys who are doing Looksmaxxing, they're basically being little whiny and they're using it as an excuse to not have to go do the approach. They're hoping that somehow they can get so good looking, girls will come up and approach them all the time. And as we talked about at the start, that just doesn't happen, or when it does, it's not desirable girls. And if you doubt me on the point that Looksmaxxing is commonly used as an excuse not to do game, not to approach women, all you have to do is look at the history and you'll see that it actually came or was popularized by incel groups who are running away from doing approaches. So fundamentally, what actually does work for getting girls? Going out, meeting girls, talking to girls, and developing skills with girls. And for the most part, guys who are doing Looksmaxxing are using this as a band-aid to avoid having to do this. Why? Because it's hard. Going out and talking to girls can be nerve-wracking. It can be scary. You can take rejections. It builds character. It's a lot easier to sit around doing, some weird exercises with your face and stuff like that than it is to go put yourself out there and potentially take a rejection. I'm going to talk to you about myself, because I'm a guy who has put a lot of time and energy and attention and effort into getting women. I've made a lot of my life dedicated around it, and I want to optimize pretty much everything I can. Why is it then that I personally am not super obsessed with Looksmaxxing? Shouldn't I be like crazy into it? Shouldn't I be trying to get every single little ounce of like facial symmetry and every single ounce of like masculinity out of my jawline? Why am I not doing it? Well, let me tell you a little story that kind of makes the point. One area of Looksmaxxing is height, right? Trying to be taller is considered attractive. And I am 5'7". I'm not particularly tall. Funny thing happened for me though. As I was learning to be good with women, I was actually unaware that height was supposedly attractive with women. Nobody told me. And so I went out and approached girls as my, short, stubby, ugly 5'7" self. And lo and behold, I went out and I got good at the skill and I started getting success. I started getting results. I'd probably already slept with about 50 girls from cold approach, just walking up to attractive strangers cold, getting dates, sleeping with them, before it ever was brought to my attention that height was a thing. And then before it was really emphasized to me, I was probably in the hundreds of women that I slept with, and attractive ones at that. So by the time I realized, oh, I'm short and maybe that's unattractive, it would never have occurred to me to think, oh, that means I can't get women, because I had literal objective proof in the real world of me getting women. I was very lucky with this. I was very lucky I didn't find out that being short was unattractive until I already proved that I was attractive despite being short. Similarly, I've had people critique my facial appearance. I've occasionally here and there had some Looksmaxxer analyze me and come to the conclusion that I'm a 6 or a 4 or a 3 or some level of unattractive facially or whatever. Now, does that bother me? No, because the reason I don't want to be attractive is to attract women, and I've already attracted enough women with this awful, ugly face that I have that I think I'll stick with it. I'm doing just fine, thank you very much. So could I optimize and get slightly better? Maybe, but the reason why I don't is kind of like the reason that you may notice I wear a black shirt in a lot of my videos, which is it works, it's good enough, and it's no hassle, and it fits my lifestyle. See, I travel all the time. I can't have shirts that need ironing. I can't have things that are a lot of effort. And I'd rather spend my time working on my business, living my life, and having fun than obsessing about being slightly more stylish. Because I've noticed in my interactions with women, value's not a problem. Like being better looking would give me a little valuable, but value is not the problem. What is the problem? Usually like logistics or circumstance or other things like that have nothing to do with appearance. Would it help a little bit? Sure, maybe. But there's diminishing returns. Is that something I would put my time and effort into? Is it something that's efficient for me? Absolutely not. So what did I do? I didn't Looksmax, I game maxed. But that said, I was not completely blind to appearance either. I am probably better looking now than I was when I was 18 as a college soccer player, because I have done things to make myself better looking along with game, because they were easy, low-hanging fruit, and why not? And here very briefly is how to Looksmax in a healthy way that's guaranteed to get you results. If you want to go beyond this, that's up to you, that's your own business, but I would recommend game maxing first, optimizing the game before you do anything beyond these basics. So here's what you should do in terms of Looksmax. Number 1, go to the gym. You're a man. Lift some heavy things, build some muscle. Do some cardio as well to cut the weight if you have an extra. And if you are concerned about weight, count your calories or do some other kind of diet that's going to limit the amount of fat you get around your midsection. And by the way, if the gym's boring for you, you hate it, take up a sport and you can have a nice jiu-jitsu injury like I do. Secondly, get a very good haircut. It should be maybe a little out of your price range. Get a haircut that is stylish and suits your face shape and makes your face look the best. Thirdly, consider getting facial hair. It looks really good on some people, not as good on others, but facial hair can actually do a lot for shaping your face, making it look better. It can make you look edgy and cool, which actually matters a lot of times a lot more than your physical appearance. A lot of times it's not about your looks, it's about your look. Next, get clothes that fit. Now, obviously, fashion changes, style changes, but there will be classic looks that will fit for years and years. And if you're wondering what to get, look around for other guys that are getting laid, dress similarly to them, and especially guys that are in your demographic. But get some good clothes, and get clothes that go together. Don't just buy individual pieces. Buy an outfit that you're going to wear all together that all goes together nicely. Next thing you should do, and this one, do as I say, not as I do, get good sleep. I don't personally do it because I have a crazy lifestyle, but get as much sleep as you can. It really is amazing for your health and amazing for your appearance. And then finally, take care of your skin. Moisturize, do sunblock so you don't damage your skin, and if you do have acne, there are things you can do to clear that shit up. So that's the 20% that's going to get you 80% of your Looksmaxxing results. But even more important than anything to do with your appearance, if you want to get girls, is go out, put yourself around girls, give yourself opportunities to meet girls, and develop the skill of meeting girls. That's going to matter exponentially more than your appearance does. Again, keep in mind what I see on program with really attractive guys. It does help a little at the start, it does help a little with the friends, but fundamentally, your interaction with a girl is going to come down to your game, not your appearance. So that's my take on Looksmaxxing. If you want to rate my appearance on the comments and tell me everything that's wrong with my face, go for it, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.